Hello, welcome back. Bloodborne Part 21. So last part, went ahead and took care of some side questing, went to the lecture building first floor, kind of stepped into the Nightmare Frontier, and definitely did the first route of Yarhagul, the Unseen Village. So the reason why we're doing all this stuff is so that we can gain more bloodstone chunks in order to upgrade our weapon even further before we tackle on any more side questing or moving on through more chalice dungeons. Ideally, I want to get us to a +9, so it's a little bit easier of a time for anyone that is new coming into the series. But everything that we are doing can definitely be done at a +3 or even unupgraded weapon. It's just for the sake of time and easier access of things, you know, want to show the smart way kind of deal with Bloodborne and its hard difficulty. So this Amidala is not going to do anything, like, ever, so don't worry about it. Now if you come around the stairs here, you're going to see that there is troll, maiden, some dudes, a gun guy. Come around the other side, you'll see a broken ledge, some 2 dogs, a gun guy that already knows we're up here, and an item. So you kind of want to approach this in any way you can, or that you want to. The Bell Maiden's going to be kind of hidden in this corner, so we have to immediately go for her. But you'll want to drop, do a plunge. Everything is stronger than what it should be because the Bell Maiden's around. So the dogs set themselves up nicely for a little plunge. But once they get going, they get going. Then once you deal with the dogs, you want to go ahead and deal with the Bell Maiden quickly, ignoring all those guys. This will just make everyone a lot easier to kill. And they're giving us a huge boost of blood vials there for a reason, because they're saying that you should have taken a lot of damage up to this point. And if you didn't go back to, you know, the Hunter's Dream for whatever reason, like we did there, you know, then they're trying to give you a little hint like things are about to get real difficult where you're going. So that's one easy way to kind of deal with that. I would just say ignore all of these guys. Deal with the dogs. As soon as you kill the dogs, instantly go for the Bell Maiden, because you don't want her to resummon those things. Watch the guy in the corner for the ambush, and then you're going to pop this door for a familiar zone. And if you had come to the menu, we would have seen that the Hypogean Gel lamp was taken off the menu, and it was because of this reason. The Hunter's Dream lamp is torn out here. It was destroyed by these 3 hunters that are kind of chilling out where the bag dudes used to sit. Nightmares, rituals, crave a newborn, find the one, silence, tearing cry. So we remember this note from when we first came down here. If you've never died to the bag dudes, ran away from them, whatever, you were just good and you fought them off, this is, you know, you're going to be your first visit to the Hypogean Gel. So that one door that was always locked, we can see why it was locked, because it was late game content. But everything else that we're about to experience here is going to be different, as in new enemies, no bad guys to really talk about. Some very creepy chest-like creatures, and a boss that is going to pretty much show up at the end of the zone that will continue on the story of Bloodborne. But for now, we have to deal with what's in front of us, and it's going to be 3 hunters that are extremely quick and kind of hostile. So the easiest thing I can do is say, try to pick them off one by one. But for the most part, they don't ever really let that happen. Here we go. Now, typically that hunter never shoots off the tiny tinnitus, but he did there. Whoa. Now, I've played this a few times, but I don't think I've ever seen Ken to the face from the door. So they're just doing new things every single run. So Bell Maiden resets. So that one hunter that was behind us here, he's kind of like patrolling this bottom zone. See if we can kind of walk. I've never been able to pull out backstabs on these guys, so as soon as you get near him, I think he starts walking up the stairs. A smart play there would not have been getting greedy and definitely running away once the other hunter started kind of forming in there. But you see that I wanted to go for the kill. Unfortunately didn't end up with getting it. this is a bit ridiculous. The best part about all this, though, is if you're able to actually kill one of them and you do die, they all don't reset at once. You'll only have to fight the ones you actually didn't end up killing. And you honestly don't want to be down in this with those two. And every reward that you got from that fight is going to be very useless. Because they didn't give anything that was kind of worth a mention there. You saw hunter bullets and, you know, just stuff that we've already kind of get anyway from normal travel or just buying it from the merchants. The rune that we picked up from that final dude was just another version of Clawmark, but worse. So, pretty uneventful fight, but they did get me, you know, on 2 different occasions there. So, very dangerous. We were kind of lucky in the instance of the claw dude kind of bugging out a bit there on the staircase, letting us have a one-on-one with the rifle dude for a while. But the rifle guy is probably the most dangerous of the 3, just because of the range and the cannon. The tiny Tonitrus guy, he's just annoying. He did get that 1 pop shot off, though, when I wasn't kind of expecting to do it. So you can see what the tiny Tonitrus does. And they just hit for a lot of damage. I mean, the rifle guy actually ended up getting off his charged heavy, and it thankfully didn't kill me. I was probably just sitting with like 1 or 4 HP left. But that's really the only way to deal with it. I mean, you saw I got 1 parry off, and then it looked like other times I should have gotten other parries off on the spear guy. So I'm not really sure if, like, there's like a parry, you know, count, like if there's a limit on how many times you can do it to these guys, but it's, you know, it's an annoying fight. Either way you chalk it up, it's just annoying. Just try to spread them out evenly, you know, take your pop shots here and there, run around the circle, get them up and down the stairs, whatever you got to do. These werewolves are now different. They look a lot crazier. But the thing with them is that they are still very easily staggerable. And that's the problem. You really just don't want to stand in front of them. And this is where we kind of become vulnerable in this situation, because we are not doing any kind of serrated fire damage. So these guys are going to be probably a lot tougher for your skill build, like we're running right now. But generally, the idea is to stay behind them, take your slashes, stagger them easily, recharge your stamina, and dodge. They are also very parryable with their charge-up attacks, but it's the wide, sweeping, quick ones that are hard to tell. So, run through the dungeon again, because things have changed, meaning that locations have changed as well. If you didn't pick up Adela, she's not going to be down here, because the bagmen would have essentially have killed her at this point. They'll come down there for easy 2 chunks. And right here where we met the old witches, it has now become a fight with a beast. They do have a chance at dropping chunks, but mostly they like to drop the twin blood shards, so you can kind of farm them for 16 if you need to. And then coming out to here, all this stuff's going to be changed as well. But this is a heavy, heavy echo point. Like, you're going to be getting echoes like no other just from killing those wolves alone. You'll see that the dead dudes are no longer here. All of the bad guys have been destroyed by the, you know, the incoming invasion of the Blood Moon's, you know, little minions. Important note here is if you did not fight Dark Beast Parl, the summon will be right there still, and Dark Beast will still be chilling over there. So if you never ran into the Hypogean Gel or Yahar'gul even to begin with, there is a optional boss that sits there, which is pretty much the back entrance into Old Yarnum, and that will be a way to befriend Durja, which was the hunter that was shooting the machine gun in the beginning of the game. So very useful for New Game Plus runs, not really recommended for a first time run. But you'll have to do that either way in New Game Plus or in your beginning run, because there is a gesture that's tied to that little secret. So then the pig and everything else that used to be out here has now transformed into these things. Biggest advice I can give is like the snakes, kind of just poke, let them attack, poke, and counterattack. Because if they get any kind of attack off on you, they hit stupidly hard. Beast Hunter's DAP Blood Gem 4, that's what they drop. Attack versus Beast are up 14.5%. So if you need to kind of farm their drops here, just put on the eye rune that we got from, you know, Old Wilhelm there, and you'll be able to farm these attack beasts up 14.5%, so you can put them across your weapons. Obviously, a weapon that's going to probably be better suited for that is your saw cleaver or your saw spear. Anything with serration. You stick those in your weapon and you'll be killing beasts like no other. Not really suited for my type of build, so we can ignore it. So you'll want to come around this corner. Watch out for that guy. Just continue to run forward. You'll see there's a Bell Maiden. Go ahead and take her out. She's obviously a problem. Now, if for whatever reason you never came down to this side because you couldn't deal with the dogs and you didn't pick up the Tonitrus, everything has now become those things. Now, they're only good for 1600 runes when you have the moon rune on. So the rune count that they give out isn't enough to justify them being there. You're only going to really want to go down for the bad guy to go get some more chunks. But if you want to fight everything, that's fine. It's not really recommended though. And if we remember this room actually is the shortcut elevator to the top. It was never present during the regular play, but since we changed the moon, it has now changed. There is actually an elevator game here as well. If we come this way, we'll see. And pretty much right there where you saw me staring out the window, that is going to be where a little optional side route is. It's very well worth your time to take. So then again, dealing with these things, you kind of want something that stabs, preferably the rifle spear. Perfect. Gotta come down here. These things are not susceptible to viscerals, so there's no way to parry them or deal with them in any way. Kin Hunter's Damp Blood Gem, so another rare drop that they give. So anything that has a waning shape for thrusting weapons is going to be kind of hard to come by. And that's because they knew that the runes that they gave for that specific reason were going to be weapons that didn't really do a lot of damage to the kin to begin with. So it's going to be kind of hard to come by a Reader Palash or Rifle Spear at this, you know, at their current state. The house of waning gem. So even though we could have used that gem in our arsenal to do more damage to kin, because then that would make our, you know, our thrust weapons do even extra damage, they decided that we had to go through the Chalice dungeons and find their lost or uncanny versions in order to do so. So if it's worth your time and you want to look up some dungeon glyphs on the internet and find your weapon variety that you want to have a specific gem set up for, so you can make your time in Bloodborne a little bit more easier. This is an ambush point, so you really want to watch out, kind of run towards it. Kind of get it out. There's. And again, just kind of let it do its thing. If you get multiple, just one at a time. If you get overwhelmed and you feel like you can't do it, then just run back into the building. They'll eventually start running away. So that monster was very kind and dropped a radial version, so now we actually can attach that to a weapon. It'll be worth our time. That is going to be super useful for a lot of the DLC too, so we actually are kind of grateful in a way that these things are dropping those. Some more chunks, gonna need those. Go ahead and pick your poison on this. That little wild arm swing thing that it does, that's extremely dangerous to get held up on. But if you didn't pick up the Tonitrus and everything else that would have been here earlier, then go ahead and do so now. But that's generally just a good strat on how to deal with those things. Now, the ones that shoot stuff at us, that's a different story. We'll get to that. And then down here, this would have been the Yarhagul setup. We actually grabbed the better version of the Iron Mask for that uniform as well. So if you want to look like a little gladiator, like the two hunters did, then you can go ahead and put that on along with the Yarhagul set. It's very good for physical reduction, so just kind of play with it. But honestly, armor in this game really doesn't do a lot, so. If you remember, there was dogs and there was a pig at the beginning when we came down here. Now it's all changed. So we don't want to approach it from this direction because the Bell Maiden's already got a beat on us and start summoning shit. And you wouldn't know this otherwise without a guide or just by being attentive and looking at your surroundings. So you want to take the shortcut, or hidden path, I should say. Make sure the elevator's down before you run up on it, because I've fallen before. Roll out the window, and now you're on top of the building. Now, up here can be kind of dangerous because there are dogs. So switch to something quicker. Just stay topped off, it's not worth messing with dogs. You do want to remember this place right here, but we want to continue further up the little roof. There's going to be a critter. Try to get in front of it and pinch it off, because it's trying to lead us into an ambush down there. So easy chunks. So now you see that we have 15 of them. So one of your weapons is eligible to go up to a +9 already, which is exactly why we wanted to take this route to begin with. This guy can be kind of problematic. So you just kind of want to get behind him, give him a poke. And normally those things never give up their backs like that, so we'll take what we can get. But the critter was meant to make you chase it, you know, all the sounds and shooting or whatever you would have done to it would have aggroed that beast, and then you would have been on a rooftop fight with it. Then come over here, you want to inspect the bath. Two paths that you can take. We definitely want to run past all this crazy shit right here and then get to the Bell Maiden. Take her out and then take out these guys. So you want to go ahead and deal with the Bell Maiden first before you go down the stairs. I take this ladder. I believe it's just like a little shortcut if you want to kind of just skip past everything. Run down there. If you go underneath the archway, you're going to go into the next big boss fight of the game. So just keep this place in mind in case you don't want to run through the entire street level there. But instead you want to take the other path and start heading down. This is going to be a tough fight because it's going to be a beast right in front of us. Try to approach it slowly and get the back off. If anything, you just want to get to its back without aggroing everything in its way. Man, we wanted to deal with the Bell Maiden earlier because she would have kept summoning the gun guy over and over again. So imagine dealing with that. Those things are now shooting gunk at us. That shit hits really hard, so you definitely don't want to be kind of standing around taking the hits. Enter through here. Make sure that you have your lantern on. It's pretty dark. Kind of check the corners. Probably want to take it a little slow. Yep. And again, set up for another easy visceral. The Tempering Damp Blood Gem 5 is going to be the best blood gem that we've come across so far. This thing puts you up to an 18%, whopping 18% attack up. So you can, for strength builds, or if you're just have a skill weapon you really like and it's just not doing enough, put that thing in and you'll start hitting pretty hard, regardless of the weapon. Now, coming to this under part here, you got these dudes. You don't really want to aggro everything right out the gate because they're going to start sniper bulleting you all the way across. Kind of want to aggro one at a time. And there you go. Like I said, they just hit stupidly hard. More than anything, just kind of use the pillars and the buildings. That was just poor sidestepping on my part. Probably worth to not lock on, like I've been saying throughout. Because the sidestep's not as fast as the roll is. And honestly, the way the enemies are set up in Bloodborne anyway, they kind of cheap shot you like that. So it's like their hit scan is activated and it just follows wherever you go. So then everything should be pretty familiar now. So without knowing about that little secret area, you would have had to come through it just like this, which was probably the most intended path. You would have had to use the wagons as cover, kind of poke around the corner, get shot at, have the bell maiden ring her bell. Just really frustrating stuff if you didn't know which way to go. You know, if you aggroed the beast, he would have came running down after you. Just a lot of shit could have happened just now. But thankfully, we did it in a smart way. Hardest part is coming out of that little doorway and figuring out how to deal with their sniper attacks. Arcane Lake, we've already had one of those before. This is just a souped up version of arcane damage reduction, which is honestly odd for this area because there's not a lot of arcane to deal with. Unless they consider what the next boss's little blood pool move is arcane damage. I'm not really sure. Looks more blood damage to me. But then for these sides, you kind of want to just pop around, check the corners, grab the knowledges. And then running back around here, there's going to be a hidden summon. So this is Defector Anil again. Normally, I would say go back and use up all your stuff, upgrade your weapons and everything. If you feel very confident, the next boss is honestly not that difficult, but it does have a lot of wide variety of cheap-ass moves that can just kind of wipe you out if you're not careful. Anyone who's familiar with the Demon Souls tower guard fight, that's pretty much what they did. They copy-pasted that fight and put it into Bloodborne. So exactly as it sounds, you're going to face off against a big monster. You're going to have to run to the sides and deal with some Bell Maidens that are kind of doing weird shit up there. Take out his support and then take on the boss directly in the below. Having Defector with us makes things a lot easier because he kind of takes the aggro from the boss, takes it on him, while you're able to run around up top and do the things you need to do up there. But other than that, things are going to start shooting at you, and you're just going to have, like, some stupid-ass time trying to take it on. The choice is yours, though. You can run all the way back to Lantern, use a Bold Hunter's Mark, reset everything. The only problem with that is that all those ugly-ass things are going to be around here, and then you got to take on, you know, everything that we just cleared out is going to be back. So you'll have to fight it all. Grab the Defector and make sure that it's not, make sure your NPC summon help's not going to run away and fight other things and get damaged. So for new player wise, I would suggest going back to the Hunter's Dream, spending those echoes and upgrading your weapon to a +9. But if you're just confident and follow what I'm going to do, you should be okay, and hopefully we don't die. Go ahead and summon the Defector. For this fight, I would suggest fire. It's hard for me to say what this next boss really is, but it looks like it's a conglomeration of like body parts and shit. Some of it looks kind of bestial, so I would just go with fire. It's probably a kin enemy, so if you want to, go ahead and put Bolt on as well. We can kind of switch between the two when one runs out. But get in there, watch this cutscene, and follow through what I do. So go ahead and let the Defector take this thing on by yourself. Really, really watch out for its wide sweeping attacks before you come up here. So you want to take this route and then take out these Bell Maidens. Kind of do it straight onwards. You don't want to push them down below. It'll just make it a lot more difficult to deal with. Come over here, pick up bullets. And you generally do want to be quick about this, so make sure you're sprinting and maintaining your stamina meter, because we don't want Defector to die. And this is what I mean, these Bell Maidens are just shooting like purple shit at us, so... Deal with all 6, run back down. And then select an area of the body where it's not kind of going crazy. And just start going. That is its most dangerous attack, to be honest. So if you can watch it and see where it's kind of charging up, make it drop. I got stuck here, so there's nothing I can do to get out of it. But you want to generally drop for the head when that happens. Just chop away at its limbs and it'll eventually like break. I wouldn't really mess with your HP bar either. I would stay at full HP because you never know when this thing's going to just drop a giant AoE. There it comes. So kind of hard to tell. I think the damage was kind of equal. I think Bolt had just a bit more damage. Yellow Backbone is going to be Chalice Dungeon material. So there's a lot of reasons why we're not taking on the Chalice Dungeons right now, because we're still gaining a bunch of materials. So game's kind of trying to tell us too, like, yeah, you can go down there, but it's probably not worth your time, because you're going to have to find these items to begin with. Light the lamp. So like I said, not an overly difficult fight with the One Reborn. Defector really does take a lot of the aggro from you. If you end up doing the battle solo, then you can pretty much do the same setup we did, just run to either side. Make sure you pick off the Bell Maidens before you fight it. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with, like, you know, purple bullets falling down at you, trying to dodge all that while dealing with its wild strikes and giant AoE blast damage that it does. The giant AoE blast damage is easily detectable and avoidable. You just have to look at its like main head though and kind of see when it kind of peaks up to do it, which I did not do in the beginning, so that's why we took that much damage. But thankfully HP was just high enough so we didn't one-hit kill. And in addition, you want to make sure that there's an attack that it actually didn't do, which is like it spits like a complete blood pool in the entire arena, and it just kind of starts sapping away at your health. So while you're kind of dealing with that and trying to get close in for strikes, you're going to be taking like almost continuous poison damage is basically what it kind of feels like. So you just want to maintain your health bar. You know, read your stamina, make sure you have enough to roll away from that giant AoE blast, and dude's really not that hard to beat. Just keep up your papers. That's really it. When you break its limbs, it drops. Try to aim for the head. I got stuck, so there's nothing I can do. That usually happens every time with it. And then he opened up the next point in the Bloodborne main campaign. But that is definitely not where we're going to go, because we have a lot of side questing to do before we can even continue. So think of this as like the checkpoint before kind of wrapping up Bloodborne in its entirety. And if you're not interested in doing any of these side questing adventures or all the optional areas that Bloodborne has to offer in its main story, then feel free to go ahead and continue on. All you got to do is just touch the mummy that was sitting at the chair, and then you'll be transported into the next part of the game. And then go ahead and continue from there. Really not much in the way of any more German speeches. We will go ahead and put the white ribbon on. So I know I broke out of my usual loop, but I want to, for the sake of time, check to see if any new things dropped, which they did. So now we can start buying chunks for 20 insight. So if you've been farming insight from anything, or you went through the Chalice dungeons and shit, then you can start buying chunks, but they are obviously super expensive at 20 insight apiece. Honestly, just better to get the ones from the world itself, and there's a lot of optional areas that we haven't done yet, so they're going to drop their own little stuff too. But then come up here and start doing all the stuff you need to do. So I'm going to opt for the Reader Palash because it's quick to go up heavier, and then the Rifle Spear will get the upgrades as well. We're not going to see plus 10 for a while, so plus 9 is about as good as it gets until we start approaching endgame. Also in the addition of, you know, the Evelyn as well, so there's still quite a lot to do with our weapons here. They're not at 100%. Blood gemming. What I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to off-screen the blood gemming, because this, I need to actually kind of start thinking about my setup and then explain what I kind of went with here. Obviously, it's going to look like I'm going to be putting on that one. And then I have to start thinking about my triangles and, you know, some of the other little radial gems and stuff like that. And seeing that I got two weapons that use the same type of gems, it's going to be kind of tough to disperse that right now. But for runes, I mean, in the side questing parts that we're about to do, visceral attack up isn't going to be such a bad idea to do, specifically for one NPC that we really are going to need this for. Your stamina boost is still pretty viable to have. It's the moon rune is kind of running its course at this point because it's the very first version, and these enemies are dropping a lot of echoes to begin with. So its use is kind of being questioned at this point. Now, you can stack. So our visceral attack will go up to 30% if I do this. Or you can kind of switch it up and make use of different things. You know, we can go back to having 4 bullets added, more attack, HP, you know, more echoes, whatever. Honestly, the damage reduction stuff has kind of run its course too, because things are just hitting way too hard that it's either you're blood vialing or you're using the rally system to its fullest potential there. So I'm going to opt for that. I'm going to go for 30% viscerals and max stamina boost while keeping the impurity rune. We're going to change out that rune pretty soon once we get done with the side quest and crap. But right now we're sitting pretty at, you know, a level 9 and level 7 weapon there. And then for here, I would definitely say upgrade your weapon.
Hunter. Very willing.
And now that we kind of reached the skill up to 40, then now we're going to start just pumping into vitality from here on out. So we're going to hit pretty hard at 40. We're going to need to eventually raise it even more, potentially for the DLC, but any echoes that we get from here that are level up worthy are all going to start getting pumped into vitality till we hit like 50.
Farewell.
Because we want to be set up really well for the DLC. Now, in the DLC, I kind of explained in another video on how to get there, and I think said it wrong. So this tombstone right here is actually where you go back into the DLC after you open up the first lamp. After you beat Vicar Amelia, you're going to get the Eye of the Blood Drunk Hunter, and you need to go towards the Amidala that's outside of the Cathedral Ward, where we picked up the Black Church set. Get picked up by that thing, and then it'll transport you into the DLC world. But when we pick up again, we are going to head over here towards the Cathedral Ward and begin our little side routes. A lot of things to note here. Ariana's not feeling great. She's gonna have some dialogue. He's, and then obviously we lost the old lady earlier. So a lot of interesting things are gonna be happening. But that'll do it for this part. Thanks for watching, and we'll continue on in the